Good morning and welcome to another episode of Jadu Lifestyles, where you can have a life and live it too. The purpose of Jadu Lifestyle is to actually give business owners and entrepreneurs a different perspective as to using their skills and their talents to either enhance their business, but mostly to enhance their image and their personality. Every month, we try to bring you guests to get there or to see what they have done with their lives, how they have taken their own gifts, talents, and incorporated to do several things. Today is no different. This month is no different. We have today Marlo Rutz, and she has a very, very impressive resume. So, Marlo, welcome to Jadu Lifestyle.
Well, good morning. Thank you so much for having me. It's my pleasure to be here.
Yes, it's our pleasure to have you. And tell me a little bit. I read your bio and I was actually very, very impressed. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm what I'm doing in my life right now is my absolute passion. First of all, I live in Michigan. My husband and I are a blended family. We have 6 kids between us. So we are busy all the time, and I love that I get to implement what I do for a living in our lifestyle with such a big family and so many things going on. You know, I spent many years after college. I was in the television industry and then in pharmaceutical, and I felt this calling, this nudging in my heart to inspire women and make women laugh. So that's what I actually pushed that calling and that nudging away for a very long time, several years. And then I finally caved to it and realized what I'm doing now is what I have always been doing most of my life. So I just I went and became certified as a master empowerment coach, learned how to become a comedian, and that is what I'm doing with my life. And that is the recap in a nutshell of who I am and what I'm doing.
That's very interesting, and I think I can identify with that part, the comedian part, but mine has been very, very sporadic. One, because I have stage fright. So tell me a little bit, how long have you been a comedian?
I've been doing it professionally for about 3 years. It's interesting. It's like with most comedians that I talk to, we've been doing it our whole lives. I've been putting on impromptu shows starting when I was a little girl. And that was back then that I found the truth that laughter really is medicinal. I used to put on shows, and I know my grandpa, it was always my goal to get him to get his hanky out of his back pocket and wipe his nose because he was laughing so hard. But as far as the stage fright, I know that's there's so many little techniques and tips that I can give, but that's the answer to your question. About 3 years, but really, honestly, my entire life.
Okay, I think later on in our interview, I'm actually going to put you on the spot to tell us some jokes. But anyway, I know that your passion is for women and to help women. So tell me, what else are you doing that I know that you have the coffee chat.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, tell us a little bit about what else you're doing.
Well, the empowerment coaching, the mindset coaching, that is my heart as well. And then the coffee chats at the Cubbyhole, very long story, but I'll try to make it short. But there was this little, again, I'm very faith-based. I'm a believer. So everything that I do in my life that I know, when I have conviction that I'm doing what I know I need to be doing, it's because it came from a confirmation from that spirit inside of me. In the Cubbyhole in our basement was a little divine nudge. And God was just prompting me to use that space in our basement to encourage people in our community, to make them laugh and have them leave with a sense of hope. So I acted on it. I talked with my husband. He said, honey, I know you. When you know it's God, just everybody move out of your way, because it is so powerful. And he was so on board with it. So we have this space in our basement where we invite friends and family from our community. And I have my comedy buddies that are on tour. And when they're on tour in Michigan, we put a little gathering together. And the tagline of the cubbyhole is, "It's a place for laughter, light, and love." It looks just like what you would think what you picture a comedy club looking like. And so what we with the quarantine, what ended up happening is that I had shows that I was going to be doing. I do about one a quarter, and again, a little divine nudge saying, use this space still to be a ripple effect of goodness out into the world. So I started every Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern. You can find it on Facebook on my page, Marlo Rutz, or my Reveal to Heal page, which is for women. And you can see that I am having coffee chats with people all over the country. And we're talking about things like just whatever it is, recovery, anxiety, laughter. My guest this week is a single dad who's a comedian. And it's a great opportunity for me to be able to put goodness out into the world by shining a light on other people, their talents, their skills, but not only that, their vulnerable and relatable stories that bring hope and inspiration to all the viewers.
And how long have you been doing the cubbyhole?
Interesting. I've been doing it about 2 years. I just had the anniversary pop up on my Facebook memories. And I wanted to explain, too, that I called it the cubbyhole. We had about a week or so before, I forget, it was a very short period of time before the first show. I didn't know what I was going to call it. And I was painting the stage floor, and it hit me, oh my gosh, it needs to be called the cubbyhole. Because, Toddy, there's a space. I grew up some of the time with my grandparents. We lived with my grandparents, and they had this space under their stairs in their bungalow home. And it was all paneled, and it had shelves. And my grandma used to can cherries and put all of her canned goods in there. And I had a real trying time as a kid. And I remember I used to go in that cubbyhole, and the way my grandma expressed her love, she couldn't do it verbally, but she would express her love with her food and her cooking. And so instead of maybe saying, "I love you," she'd say, "Go get a can of cherries." Or I would go in there with my cousins and my friends, and we would laugh, and I would just feel so lighthearted when we came out of that little space. And that's why I knew God was putting it on my heart, that it needed to be called the cubbyhole, because the goal with cubbyhole in our basement is that people feel better, even if they feel broken and tired and weary when they get there and they're putting on that, maybe the fake smile, maybe it's a real smile. Regardless, it's our goal to make them feel loved and hopeful and better than when they arrived. That's why it's called the cubbyhole.
That sounds great. So have you always known that you were going to be a business owner, entrepreneur?
No. Oh my gosh, the opposite. Because my husband David, when we met, we met on Match.com. We got married, blended our families, and he's been an entrepreneur most of his career. And it was always very scary to me, because I came from the corporate background in television and pharmaceutical. And so it scared me. And then when I stepped out of those roles, and I just, because of David, because he's such a brilliant businessman, the trust and the encouragement that I had just watching him. But then I was a stay-at-home mom for many, many years. And then when I felt this nudging to do what I do, now I'm honestly, I can't imagine doing anything other than owning my own business. And when you find what you love to do as your business and it's your passion, you feel like you don't work a day in your life. It's the truth what they say about that. So I did not always know. I was actually adamantly against it because of fear. But now I can't imagine doing anything else.
Now, one of the things I try to do with this podcast is to actually show business entrepreneurs, owners, that they have different facets of their life that they can explore. A lot of times we have a business and we are focused on making money and getting the ideas out. And, we may have good ideas, but we tend to leave ourselves in the background. And so I thought that when I did this podcast, I really wanted people to know I myself have different facets that I've explored. I'm a published author. I'm working on art. I do stand-up comedy, things like that. Tell me, what about how do you feel about that? What happened in your life that led you to this many facets?
You mean to have, you were talking about the diversity of what we do?
Well, using your gifts and your talents, how did you like identify, oh, uh, hey, I want to be a stand-up comedian, or I want to be a speaker, or how did you identify your gifts and talents?
Well, again, it goes back to that divine little nudge. And I had to learn to listen to that because I honestly ignored it for a long time. I would just hide from God, literally. Like I joke around that I would just like metaphorically hide under the couch and like he'll never find me here. But then I just started noticing what I did that I loved, that I felt was making an impact. And so I that's why I surrendered and said, okay, God, if this is what you want me to do, please show me how. Show me the how. I'll do the possible. Please do the impossible. But the thing is, it was like at the beginning, I felt like I was just, like we all should do, with the things that speak to our heart and ignite that little bit of a fire in us. I call it, the term throwing the noodles against the wall and seeing which ones stick. You have to honor everything that you are gifted at. You don't want to push any of those down under the rug because, the mindset coach in me says this: if it's repressed, it's going to be expressed somehow. And so I just kept doing what I was doing. And I'm like, why am I doing all these things? How do they fit together? And then after time doing it over and over again, I started to see how they fit together. So the comedy, I do comedy separately. I do keynote speaking separately. I do coaching separately. I do the cubby hole chats. They're separate, but that the answer for me, Tati, is that there's a common thread through all of them. That's how they fit together. They're like a beautiful, like a macaroni necklace of faith in all of the skills and talents that I've been gifted with. And I'm going to be adding a bead onto that necklace, which is a book going to be called God Sprinkles. And you just find that you just can incorporate them all. They're just different modes of action, different delivery systems, if you will. That's a pharmaceutical term, of getting your message out there. So I say don't ignore any of them, honor them all, and God will show you how they fit together.
Okay, so can I ask you, if I had to ask you, what causes people to be afraid to step out? Do you have an answer?
Well, first I want to start by saying fear is a major motivator. Fear eventually, courage is just on the other side of fear. But, oh my gosh, that's my life's work, is talking to women about the different emotions that we travel through. I mean, the lowest place we can ever resonate is shame, first of all. So if we have shame in our life, it's time to start working on that and mining out the truth. But with any of the emotions and mindsets that I talk with women about, guilt, fear, shame, blame, anger, pride, they all stem from our story. We tell ourselves stories 50 or 50,000 times a day. It's our limited beliefs. So we're either going to propel ourselves with our stories or we're going to paralyze ourselves. So if we have fear, yeah, that's important. It's an important indicator. It's like the engine light in our car, but we need to that's what I help women facilitate, a process of getting a shovel and going and starting and digging out the truth. That's where fear stems from. It just stems from the limited belief story. That's why my page on Facebook is called Reveal to Heal, because we first need to reveal the truth about what we're telling ourselves. Are we telling ourselves a whole lot of limited beliefs, false truths? Are we comparing ourselves? What is fear is just the container